Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to review and summarize Ali Abdaal's new book,
Feel Good Productivity, which is a book about how to do more of what matters to you in a way that's enjoyable and meaningful and sustainable.
It's coming out on December 26th, and Ali was nice enough to send me an early review copy so I could read it and make a video breaking down my thoughts. I've read dozens of books on self-improvement and productivity, and in this video, you're going to find out 1, what are the most useful, actionable pieces of advice from this book, and 2, whether you as a reader should buy and read Feel Good Productivity, whether this book is worth it. Let's get into it. All right, the first interesting idea in this book is that people who enjoy what they do become successful at it. Nowadays, you see a lot of super happy, wealthy people walking around like Joe Rogan and Mark Zuckerberg, and you might think to yourself, okay, these people are only happy because they're rich, but it's actually the other way around. Ali makes the point that successful people don't become happy, happy people become successful. And Ali Abdaal is such a clear example of this. I've been watching his videos for the past 4 years now, and never once have I gotten the impression that he's been not having fun or not enjoying what he's doing. He always seems like he's having the time of his goddamn life. Even when he was earning $30,000 a year, slaving away and making YouTube videos in the evenings and weekends, he still did it with a smile on his face. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why he's unbelievably successful. The truth is that with most things in life, you can be successful if you're just unbelievably consistent. You want a great physique? Just go to the gym and eat healthy for years. If you want to be great at the piano, just practice every day for a decade and see what happens. It's pretty obvious how to get good. The consistency is the hard part. And when you're actually having fun, enjoying what you're doing, consistency becomes much easier. Think about it. When have you ever been ultra consistent at something you hated doing? Sure, maybe you can maintain it for a couple days, weeks, or maybe months, but eventually you burn out and quit. At this point, you might be thinking, Aman, sure, yeah, I know that if I like my job, I'll be better at it, but I still hate my life, and I don't know if I'll ever like working as much as I like playing Fortnite and eating pizza. And yeah, maybe you won't ever like studying for an exam as much as you enjoy watching anime, but there are things that you can do to make whatever you're doing more fun, and thus makes you better at doing the thing. One of the biggest enjoyment hacks is to work in groups of people. Ali used to do this at Cambridge with the Pomodoro Society, and I did it at my university with the LeetCode Club. LeetCode is the website that hosts coding problems that you work through to practice for interviews, and honestly, most CS majors hate LeetCode with a burning passion. It's almost a meme at this point that you LeetCode up until you get a job and then you never touch LeetCode again. And I used to have this attitude. For years, I knew I should be grinding LeetCode, but I never did because I despised it. And it was boring, difficult, and I just felt like it was a huge waste of time, so why would I study it? That was until I decided to start a LeetCode club at my university. I invited 3 to 6 of my close friends, we met 3 times a week, and that changed everything. I would put together a set of problems under a common topic like graphs or arrays, and then we would compete with each other to see who could solve them first. And afterwards, we'd go over the solutions. I ended up solving so many more problems that year simply because I was excited to see my friends at the LeetCode Club. I just had fun doing it, making fun of my friend for not being able to solve the problem, him roasting me for getting the suboptimal solution. It was simply a good time. I ended up learning way more. This is the power of focusing on having fun with what you do. Frankly, it's almost impossible to be successful at something you hate doing. You just won't be consistent if you feel like you're slaving away at something pointless. Now, what are some of the negatives of Ali's system here? Well, Ali recommends listening to movie soundtracks from Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter. And while I love Hans Zimmer as much as every other dude, I think that music can be extremely distracting at times. Huberman Lab recently released a podcast episode on which types of music are best for focus. And in that episode, he mentioned that listening to your favorite music while studying is actually bad for focus. You're vibing too much, you're having too much fun. He recommends listening to white noise or listening to nothing at all. Again, maybe it works for Ali, but I would be hesitant about listening to Taylor Swift or Drake while you're trying to solve a LeetCode hard. It's probably not going to help. Also, other people can frequently be a distraction. Sure, Ali said that he was super focused during his Pomodoro Society, but for me, from time to time, I end up getting very distracted when studying with my friends. We would always start with solving a few problems, but then after a while, we would inevitably start arguing about some random topic or start some other completely unrelated discussion. Yeah, I was having fun, but there were times where it wasn't really that productive. So I would be careful about always studying with other people. Speaking of other people, another amazing principle from this book is the power of vicarious mastery, which is the idea that if you simply watch someone achieve something you're trying to do, you'll become much more likely to do it. Ollie breaks down the study where researchers put together two groups of kids. Both of them were asked to scale a rock climbing wall, and both were given the same instruction. But one group watched a video of someone successfully scaling the rock climbing wall, and the other group didn't watch anything. And what do you know? The group that watched the success video were far more likely to complete the climb. I strongly believe in this. This is the main benefit of YouTube, books, and podcasts. Sure, the advice you consume is helpful, but just by watching people who have done it, you will consume so many little micro lessons on how to be more successful, and it will truly boost your self-confidence. I posted a video a while back about how I got my Amazon internship, and so many people messaged me after watching that video saying that they watched it, got inspired, grinded, and they also got the same internship. That's the power of Vicarious Mastery. I can honestly attribute most of my success in life to the fact that I watched so many YouTube videos and listened to so many books and podcasts and take all this advice from people who were ahead of me. In fact, it was through watching Ollie's video in 2020 where he talked about how much money he made that year that inspired me to start this very channel. I watched that video and thought to myself, holy shit, that's crazy that someone who looks like me and is just a few years older than me can start a YouTube channel and earn so much money online. I'm gonna do just the same thing. And that's why I started this YouTube channel 3.5 years ago, and it's finally starting to pay off. Here's the thing, nowadays you need to deliberately curate your information diet. Back in the day, you'd be stuck in your village with a few hundred people and there was no real opportunity to learn from the best. But now you can go and actively create your knowledge environment. So what I'd recommend doing is anytime you hear a recommendation for a book, a podcast, or a YouTube channel from someone, write it down and follow up. Maybe add the book to your reading list or subscribe to the podcast. I've read hundreds of books and listened to thousands of podcasts over the last few years, and it all started from Ali Abdaal recommending names like Tim Ferriss, Peter Attia, and Naval Ravikant, and the network only expanded from there. So make an active effort to write down recommendations people give you and actually follow up on them. Side note, when I mentioned that I listen to so many podcasts, people often pull me aside and ask me whether it's a waste of time or not. They're like, how many episodes of the Tim Ferriss show are you gonna listen to? Haven't you already learned everything that he has to offer? So why keep consuming the same content? And it's because the brain just doesn't work like that. You need to hear the same piece of advice 10, 20, maybe even 100 times before you truly internalize it. How many times have you heard that you need to go to the gym, exercise, eat healthy, and not procrastinate? And do you actually do that? Probably not. So I find great benefit consuming content advising me to do things that I already do. I haven't missed a week without lifting weights in years, yet I'll still watch a Hamza video on the importance of building a good physique. I haven't missed one day of my skincare routine, yet I'll still watch male looks maxing guides and glow up videos. It's about identity reinforcement at the end of the day, not necessarily the specific knowledge. If you deliberately find people who have already achieved your goals and then consume their content, you will be far more likely to reach your goals. One of my favorite quotes from the Harry Potter series is,
"Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it."
and this leads to another one of Ollie's principles in his book, Feel Good Productivity, which is about the power of asking for help. One of my favorite parts of this book is where Ollie goes into almost autistic detail when he breaks down social interaction. The advice and communication was fucking great. One thing Ollie discusses is the concept of the helper's high. This is the phenomenon where if you ask someone for help, they will actually like you more, not the other way around. You assume, oh, I don't want to ask someone for help because I don't want to bother them. But what you don't realize is that by you asking them for help, they will like you more. The fastest way to get someone to like you is to ask for a small favor. I actually heard this first from a Jordan Peterson clip where he mentioned that when you move to a new area, the first thing you should do to meet your neighbors is ask them for a small favor, to borrow something like a cup of sugar or flour. And it's because you allow the other person to be a better version of themselves. You let them live up to their own ideals, which makes them like you more. They feel good helping you. Now, I'm not saying ask for huge, massive, burdensome things. Don't ask to borrow your friend's car for a month. That's a fast way to make them hate you. But a small thing here and there genuinely does help. Another aspect of communication Ollie breaks down perfectly is how to respond when a friend brings you good news. Let's say your friend comes to you and they bring the good news that they just landed their first internship at Google. There are 4 ways you could respond to that. The first one is the cheerleader Charlie. They would say something like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. I knew you could do it." Easygoing Emma would say, "Oh, that's cool." Envious Ethan would say, "Oh, Mr. Big Shots at Google. Big tech is evil and you probably cheated to get that internship anyway." Finally, self-centered Sam would say something like, Oh, did you hear about how I landed my internship in Meta? This breakdown is so useful. No one had ever explained to me what the correct response in a situation like this is. And now it's so obvious that we should always make an active effort to be as excitedly positive as possible when a friend brings you good news. No one talks about this. It's really helpful to learn. Those are some of my favorite parts of the book. Now I'm going to review it as a whole. Overall, it was great. Honestly, if you've gotten even $20 of value from Ali Abdaal's YouTube channel, you should just go and buy the hardcover version of the book. I genuinely wanted to do well with this book launch, and I feel like I owe it to him just to buy the hardcover version of this book because of all the help he's given to millions of people like you and me. But beyond that, if you're already a fan of Ali Abdaal, this book will be even more useful for you. Here's the thing. Like I said earlier, no one automatically follows good advice for the first time. You need to hear a message over and over again to fully internalize it. And this book does an amazing job of summarizing Ali's entire life philosophy and structuring it into one solid arc that's easy to follow and gain actionable tips from. So even if you've heard most of the same ideas before, reading this book will help them stick. Now, some criticism. Almost every point Ali made in this book had some research study attached to it. And while honestly it was fine, I do feel like Ali's personal stories were far, far more impactful. We're at this point where authors feel the need to tack on studies to every single argument they make, and I just don't think it's that necessary. Sure, maybe if I didn't know him, I might care more about the studies. But the truth is that this is not quantum physics or chemistry. It's psychology and productivity. And personal stories are just as impactful as the research studies. So in conclusion, Feel Good Productivity was great and worth reading. I'm even going to do a re-listen to the book so I can hear Ali narrate the entire thing start to finish. Also, surprisingly, the book was funny at times. I laughed out loud multiple times. I think he did a great job at writing it. If you're interested in my computer science success blueprint, where I rank every single one of my computer science classes, you can sign up for my newsletter in the description down below, and I'll send it to you for free. Thank you guys for watching. A like will be incredible, and I will see you in the next video.